Welcome to Fragile Bonds, to the powerful stories of family, love, loss, and the choices that shape our lives. Now let's begin today's story.
Our small house sits in a quiet residential neighborhood outside Boston. It's just the three of us, my husband Mark, our 4-year-old daughter Sophia, and me, Emily. I work from home as a graphic designer. My mornings are spent waking Sophia, making breakfast, keeping her entertained, and squeezing in emails with clients whenever I can. It's far from easy, but the joy of watching my daughter grow up right before my eyes is priceless. Mark works as a sales manager. He leaves early in the morning and often comes home late at night. Even when he looks exhausted, he always lights up when he sees Sophia. On weekends, watching him carry her on his shoulders through the park, he was the picture-perfect father. Supporting our life together were my mother-in-law Patricia and my sister-in-law Jessica. They live about 20 minutes away by car. Patricia has been living alone since she lost her husband early. I still remember the day I first met her. 3 months into dating Mark, I was invited to his family home. Patricia greeted me at the door and wrapped me in a warm hug. She always said that taking care of her granddaughter was her greatest joy. And she meant it. She'd watch Sophia 2 or 3 times a week. Jessica has a bright, outgoing personality and visits us often. On Sophia's birthday, she always brought a big present that delighted my daughter. I was truly grateful for my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's support. I thought we couldn't have asked for a better family. Sophia adored her grandma and Aunt Jessica. On days when she was going to Patricia's house, she'd be excited from the moment she woke up, stuffing toys into her little backpack all by herself. When I'd pick her up, she'd always tell me happily about her day, baking cookies with grandma, or how Aunt Jessica read her picture books. Every time I saw my daughter's happy face, I felt blessed to have such a wonderful support system. That peaceful routine changed 3 weeks ago. I landed a major project from a big advertising agency. Creating a complete visual identity for a new brand from scratch, it was the biggest job of my career as a designer. The deadline was 3 weeks away. I knew it was going to be an incredibly demanding schedule. Mark's business trips were also increasing around that time. Some weeks, he was away half the time. I was starting to feel overwhelmed. Balancing work and childcare was becoming harder than ever before. One evening, Patricia called. She told me kindly to leave things to them and focus on my work. Not only would she watch Sophia, but she offered to let her stay overnight if needed. I nearly cried with gratitude. I felt so lucky to have such an understanding mother-in-law. After that, Sophia started staying at Patricia's house more often. What began as once a week became 3 or 4 days a week as the project reached its critical phase. Sometimes she stayed over the weekend. While I missed being apart from my daughter, I told myself it was necessary to do my job perfectly. Every time I heard her voice on the phone, I was relieved that she sounded fine. Patricia always praised her, saying Sophia was such a good girl. I felt truly supported by my family. I sat at my computer from morning to night, immersed in my designs. The client's response was excellent. Just a little more to go. Once I finish this, I'll spend lots of time with Sophia. That's what I told myself as each day passed. As the project entered its final phase, my life became even more hectic. Revision requests from the client kept pouring in, and I was down to 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. Mark was on a business trip to Seattle and wouldn't be back for the rest of the week. Sophia was staying at Patricia's. The plan was for 2 nights, 3 days. Friday evening, I went to pick up my daughter. Sophia stood quietly at Patricia's front door. Usually, she'd come running to hug me, but that day was different. But I thought she must be tired. I was exhausted myself, so I didn't give much thought to the change in my daughter's behavior. As soon as we got home, I started making dinner. Mac and cheese, Sophia's favorite. Made with plenty of cheddar cheese, baked in the oven until the top turns golden brown. My daughter always comes into the kitchen when she smells it, begging to eat right away. But that day, Sophia stayed on the living room sofa without moving. I scooped the fresh mac and cheese onto a small plate and set it on the dining table. "Sophia, dinner's ready," I called, and my daughter slowly sat down in her chair. But she didn't reach for her fork. "Aren't you going to eat?" I asked. Sophia shook her head. "I'm not hungry," she said in a small voice. I smiled, thinking she must have eaten a lot at Grandma's house. Patricia was a wonderful cook, so she probably made her something special. That was fine. There was no need to force her to eat. The next morning, I made Sophia's favorite pancakes. Maple syrup drizzled on top with strawberries on the side. Her favorite breakfast. But Sophia shook her head again. She wouldn't even pick up her fork. "Sophia, just eat a little," I said gently. My daughter just silently shook her head. I was starting to worry. But I told myself that kids can be moody, they go through phases like this. I worked all morning, and when lunchtime came, I made sandwiches and called my daughter. Sophia sat at the table, but again, she didn't eat. She only drank water. That, at least, was something. Dinner was the same. I made chicken noodle soup. Easy to digest and warming. But Sophia wouldn't even pick up her spoon. I sat across from her at the table and looked at her face. She seemed paler than usual. But maybe it was just the lighting. I was exhausted and couldn't think straight. On the third morning, I became seriously worried. Sophia didn't eat breakfast. She didn't eat lunch. When dinner time came, my daughter still wouldn't touch any food. She only drank water. I sat next to Sophia and put my hand on her forehead. "Does something hurt?" I asked. Sophia shook her head. "Aren't you hungry?" I asked. My daughter shook her head again. I called Patricia. My mother-in-law sounded surprised and said she was eating normally when she was here. She continued, "Children go through phases like this sometimes. Don't worry." I felt a little reassured. Patricia was an experienced mother. Her words carried weight. It was probably just temporary. But on the fourth day, the fifth day, the situation didn't change. Sophia ate nothing. She only drank water. My daughter's body was clearly getting thinner. Her cheeks were hollow, dark circles appeared under her eyes. This wasn't the face of a 4-year-old child. I stopped working. The project deadline was right around the corner, but I didn't care anymore. I had to be with my daughter. I stayed by Sophia's side all day. I read her picture books. We watched TV together. But my daughter didn't laugh. She barely responded. It was as if her soul had left her body. I tried offering her food over and over. Fruit, cookies, ice cream, everything she loved. But Sophia just shook her head. On the 6th night, I'd reached my limit. I hadn't responded to the client's emails. I wasn't answering phone calls. But all I could think about was my daughter. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd take her to the pediatrician. Maybe she had some illness. She needed to see a specialist. After dinner, I put Sophia to bed. My daughter curled up her small body and fell asleep immediately. I returned to the living room and sat on the sofa. When I closed my eyes, I fell asleep right away. I was completely exhausted. Around 2 in the morning, a sound woke me. At first, I thought it was a dream. But then I heard it again. A small voice. Coming from Sophia's room. I sat up and walked into the hallway. My daughter's door was closed. When I listened carefully, I could definitely hear a voice. Sophia was murmuring something. "Mommy, get better." It was my daughter's voice. I felt my heart pounding violently. Get better, what did that mean? I wasn't sick. What was she talking about? With trembling hands, I slowly turned the doorknob. I pushed it open gently to avoid any creaking. Moonlight illuminated the room. Light streaming through a gap in the curtains lit up my daughter's small figure. Sophia was sitting on the bed with her knees drawn up, clutching a framed photo of me to her chest. Her body was trembling. My heart raced. I opened the door a little more. The floor creaked. But Sophia didn't notice. My daughter kept whispering to the photo. "Mommy, Sophia is trying so hard. I'm really trying. So please get better. Please." I was confused. Trying hard. What was she trying so hard at? And why did I need to get better? I wasn't sick. I was healthy. But my daughter was praying as if I were dying. I entered the room. "Sophia," I called out. My daughter turned around, startled. In the moonlight, I could see Sophia's face clearly. It was soaked with tears. Her cheeks were gaunt, the dark circles under her eyes were deep, she looked like a different person. Fear showed in my daughter's eyes. Fear of being caught by me. I approached the bed and tried to sit next to her. But Sophia flinched and pulled back for a moment. As if I were a monster. That reaction nearly broke my heart. "It's Mommy. Don't be scared," I said gently. But my daughter kept trembling. "Mommy, I'm sorry." Sophia's voice was small and shaking. "What are you sorry for?" I asked. But my daughter couldn't answer. She just kept crying. I reached out to hug her. This time, Sophia didn't pull away. I held my daughter's emaciated body. Her bones were protruding. Of course they were, she'd eaten almost nothing for 6 days. "What are you sorry for?" I asked again. "Tell me, Sophia. Mommy won't be angry. I promise." My daughter continued crying in my arms. And finally, in a small voice, she said, "Sophia is trying hard. For Mommy." "For Mommy," I repeated. "Trying hard at what?" Sophia answered, trembling. "Not eating. I'm not supposed to eat." My body froze. Not supposed to eat. Who told her such a thing? Why? I asked. Why can't you eat? Sophia struggled for words. I gently held my daughter's shoulders and looked into her eyes. Did someone tell you that? Sophia nodded slightly. Who? I asked. But my daughter couldn't answer. She just cried. As if she was carrying some terrible secret. I held Sophia and lay down on the bed. I gently rubbed her back. It's okay, everything's okay, I whispered over and over. Though I didn't even know myself what was okay. I just wanted to comfort my daughter. Eventually, exhausted, Sophia fell asleep. I stayed by her side all night. I couldn't sleep. My mind was spinning with thoughts. The next morning, Sophia was a little calmer. We woke up together in the bed. My daughter looked at my face and tears welled up again. I smiled gently. "Sophia, will you tell Mommy everything?" I asked. "Mommy absolutely won't be angry. I promise." My daughter looked into my eyes. Then, in a small voice, she began to speak. "Grandma said it." My body stiffened. "What did Patricia say?" I asked quietly. "That Mommy is sick." Sophia's voice was trembling. I gasped. "Sick? That I was sick? Who decided such a thing?" I was about to say I wasn't sick, but my daughter's next words froze me. "That if Sophia eats, Mommy will die." My mind went blank. If Sophia eats, I'll die. Could there be such an absurd story? But my daughter continued. "If Sophia holds back, Mommy will get better." So I was trying hard. For Mommy. My body shook with anger and sadness. Patricia. My trusted mother-in-law had told such a lie to my 4-year-old daughter. Why? For what purpose? What was she planning by starving my daughter? But right now, I had to stay calm in front of my daughter. I took a deep breath. "Sophia, that's a lie," I said gently but firmly. "Mommy is not sick. I'm fine. Look, I'm very healthy." I took my daughter's hand and placed it on my cheek. "Even if you eat, Mommy won't die. In fact, if you don't eat, Mommy is sad. Very, very sad." Sophia looked confused. "But Grandma said." My daughter said. I hugged her tightly. "Grandma was wrong. You did nothing bad. You don't need to hold back anything." My daughter cried in my arms. This time, they were tears of relief. I cried too. Tears of anger and sadness. That my daughter had suffered for 6 days. That a 4-year-old child had starved herself trying to save her mother. The cruelty of it tore at my heart. That afternoon, while Sophia was napping, I picked up my cell phone with trembling hands. I dialed the police. When the call connected, I began explaining the situation. That my 4-year-old daughter was refusing to eat. That my mother-in-law had lied to her, saying I would die. That she was psychologically abusing my daughter. My voice was shaking. But I stated it clearly. I had to protect my daughter. Even if it was my mother-in-law, I couldn't forgive this. On the other end, the operator responded seriously. "We'll investigate immediately," I was told. I hung up and sat down on the sofa. The police came to our home that evening. 2 detectives stood at the door. The female detective's name was Davis. She had kind eyes. I led them to the living room and explained what had happened. That Sophia had refused food for 6 days. That it started the day she came back from my mother-in-law's house. And last night, the terrible truth I'd heard from my daughter. Detective Davis listened with a serious expression. "May I speak with your daughter directly?" she asked. I nodded. Sophia sat next to me and answered Detective Davis's questions. At first, my daughter was scared. But the detective spoke to her gently and slowly. "Sophia, What did Grandma say? My daughter answered in a small voice. That Mommy is sick and might die, so I shouldn't eat. Did anyone else say that? Detective Davis asked. Sophia nodded. Aunt Jessica too. They both said the same thing. That I had to keep it a secret. That if I told Mommy, Mommy would die. I clenched my fists. It wasn't just Patricia. Jessica was complicit too. The two of them had planned this together. What were they trying to do to me, using my 4-year-old daughter? The detectives took detailed statements. The dates Sophia stayed at Patricia's house, the words my mother-in-law and sister-in-law said, the changes in my daughter's behavior. They recorded everything. Then they said they would call in Patricia and Jessica for questioning. I nodded, trembling. The next day, Patricia and Jessica were questioned at the police station. I waited in a separate room. Through the glass, I could see them. At first, they denied everything. We never said that. The child is just confused. Patricia was calm. She maintained her usual composed demeanor. But when the detective announced they were beginning a formal investigation for child abuse, Jessica's face changed. She became agitated and looked at Patricia. My mother-in-law sent her daughter a sharp look. A silent command to stay quiet. But Jessica's hands were trembling. The police obtained a search warrant for Patricia's house. I went along. It was the first time entering my mother-in-law's house since the day I'd picked up Sophia. I blamed myself for not noticing anything that day. What must my daughter have been feeling while she was here? What words had she been hearing? The search was thorough. The detectives checked the living room, kitchen, bedrooms, every room. And then, in Jessica's room, they found a notebook. Detective Davis opened it and her expression darkened. Look at this, she said to me. The notebook contained a plan. Written in neat handwriting, with dates. Break Emily mentally. Use her daughter to drive Emily to despair. Make her neurotic and ultimately drive her to suicide. Then Sophia will be ours. Mark will be too grief-stricken to do anything. We'll raise the girl. Sophia will become my daughter. I felt nauseous. This was calculated. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law had been trying to kill me. Not by their own hands, but by using my daughter. Using a 4-year-old child as a tool. I trembled at their cruelty. Confronted with the evidence, Jessica broke down. In the interrogation room, she collapsed in tears. I just wanted to be a mother, she said. 5 years of infertility treatments and nothing. Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. But no results. Every time I saw Sophia, I was jealous, envious. I thought if Emily was gone, Sophia would become my daughter. I could raise her. As Mark's sister, I thought I had the right. Patricia also gave in. I was just trying to help my daughter, my mother-in-law said. Seeing Jessica suffer, I wanted to do something for her. Emily was just an outsider, not blood family. Sophia is my real granddaughter. My blood. As long as she was happy, nothing else mattered. I heard those words from outside the interrogation room. Wasn't I family? I screamed. I opened the door and went in. For 7 years, I thought of you as family. I trusted you. I thought it was safe to leave my daughter with you. But I was just an outsider. Patricia looked at me. There was no regret or apology in her eyes. Just cold reality. You are an outsider, Emily. Always have been. Only Sophia is real family. Those words pierced my heart. Jessica kept crying. I'm sorry, she repeated. But I couldn't accept her apology. She had starved my daughter. She had planted in a 4-year-old child the terror that her mother would die. I could never forgive that. That night, Patricia and Jessica were arrested. The charges were child abuse, psychological abuse, and conspiracy to commit murder. They were handcuffed and put into police vehicles. I watched from a distance. Mark rushed to the police station straight from the airport. He'd hurried back from his business trip in Seattle. He hugged me and Sophia. I'm sorry I didn't notice. Mark's voice was shaking. He was crying too. That his mother and sister had been arrested. That they'd tried to hurt his wife and daughter. He couldn't accept that reality. I didn't notice either, I said. I left Sophia with them. I trusted them. But it was all a lie. Mark put his arm around my shoulder. We cried together. Sophia said in a small voice between us, "Is Mommy really okay? She's not going to die." I picked up my daughter. I'm fine. I'll be with you forever and ever. Daddy's here too. The three of us are going to live together from now on. My daughter wrapped her arms around my neck. And finally, she smiled. Several months later, the verdict was handed down in court. Mark sat next to me in the gallery. We'd left Sophia with a friend. I didn't want my daughter to see this. The judge read the verdict. Jessica Montgomery, for the crimes of child abuse and psychological abuse, 10 years in prison. Patricia Montgomery, for conspiracy, 7 years in prison. The courtroom buzzed. Jessica broke down crying, while Patricia remained expressionless. Before leaving, Jessica turned around. Sophia, I'm sorry. Your aunt was wrong. Her voice was trembling. But I said nothing. Sophia wasn't here. Protecting my daughter was all that mattered to me now. 6 months have passed since then. Our lives were gradually returning to normal. Sophia was slowly able to eat again. But sometimes, she still feels afraid of eating. When that happens, I always sit next to my daughter and eat with her. See, Mommy's eating too. Let's eat together. One Sunday afternoon, Sophia asked me a question. Mommy, did Grandma and Aunt Jessica not like Sophia? I struggled with how to answer. How should I explain this? Maybe they tried to love you in the wrong way, I said. But you know what? Real family doesn't hurt each other. Sophia tilted her head. Then she nodded. You're such a smart girl, I said, tearing up. My daughter touched my cheek. Don't cry, Mommy. Sophia is fine. In prison, Jessica was looking at a photo of Sophia in her cell. It was the last one I'd given her. What was I doing, she thought. I wanted to be a mother, but I'd become a monster. The tears wouldn't stop. No one came to visit Patricia's cell. Only one letter arrived from her son Mark. Mom, I won't be in touch for a while. Protecting Sophia is my top priority right now. Patricia clutched the letter and cried. I tried to protect my family, and I lost my family. On a sunny Saturday, we were at the park. Sophia was running, laughing. Mommy, look, my daughter shouted. I waved with a smile. When I sat on the bench, Mark came and sat next to me. Sophia's doing so much better. Yes, but it'll still take time. Sophia came running back. Mommy, I'm hungry. Hearing those words, I teared up. Then let's go home and have lunch. The three of us walked hand in hand. In the evening sun, the shadow of our small family stretched out. I learned that real family isn't about blood ties, but about the bonds of protecting and respecting each other. The three of us will keep walking together. No matter what difficulties come, bonds formed through love can never be broken. That was the only, and most important, truth I gained from this ordeal.